and log in. I'm Sienna Abdullahad. I serve as the Director for the Office of Multicultural Affairs in the Carolyn Barber Pierre Center for Intercultural Life here at Tulane, and we are glad that y'all could join us today. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our keynote. YaQutullah Ibraheem Muhammad is the owner of Nutrition Prescriptions LLC, a consulting practice that specializes in weight management, recipe development and analysis, nutrition education, and women's wellness. Muhammad earned her bachelor's degree in nutrition and master's degree in health sciences and nutrition from Georgia State University. Go Panthers. She has written a nutrition course curriculum for the University of Wisconsin-Madison and has developed curriculum materials for the Virginia or VA. Is that the VA as in Veteran Affairs?
Yep.
Okay, for the Veteran Affairs Whole Health for Life Wellness Program. YaQutullah is a freelance writer and has developed recipes for Halal Consumer Magazine, as well as the nutrient analysis for cookbooks. She is also the co-author of Cultural Food Practices, 2nd edition, a publication of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Dietetics, thank you. She has worked in various settings, including inpatient, clinical, community, outpatient, school nutrition, food service, WIC community nutrition, and private practice and contract facilities. And YaQutullah has presented at several conferences, women's health and wellness retreats in Bermuda. I would love to go to Bermuda. Nutrition education workshops and food demos at local farmers markets. And YaQutullah has also is a freelance writer and recipe developer. YaQutullah has 15 years of experience in dietetics and nutrition, working with panelists and clients on improving their health outcomes related to diabetes and weight management, cardiac disease, blood pressure, and cholesterol management. YaQutullah utilizes her creative talents in developing and promoting healthy recipes, interactive nutrition, education programs. YaQutullah loves empowering people to learn and apply nutrition into every facet of their lives and to understand the connection between faith, health, and wellness. And you can follow her on IG at Yakutu_nutrition prescriptions. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to YaQutullah.
Good evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Hope you guys are doing well. Greetings. Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me come on tonight to talk a little bit about Ramadan and nutrition. Please feel free, if you guys have questions, to put those in the chat. And we'll definitely get to those. So at this time, I think I can share my screen, right?
You should be able to. And you can share questions on the Q&A too. We can
moderate
there.
Okay, cool. Great. All right. So let's see. Should be able to share this one. All right, cool. Can you guys see the screen? Can you see it, Sienna?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Great. So again, thank you for having me. We're going to be talking about Ramadan and nutrition. Today actually was the 15th of Shaban, which is the 8th month. Ramadan is the 9th month. And we are halfway through Shaban, so we have about 2 more weeks until Ramadan. So inshallah, we'll get started. Again, my name is YaQutullah Ibraheem Muhammad, and we are going to welcome Ramadan. So today, what we're going to talk about a little bit is, of course, what is Ramadan, just a general overview. And we'll go over exemptions, right? So who's fasting, who's exempt from fasting? And then we'll talk a little bit about getting the most out of Ramadan, of course, meal planning in Ramadan, and hydration, and then additional helpful resources that we can use as we plan and prepare for Ramadan. All right. So of course, the month of Ramadan, like I said, is the 9th month of the Islamic or Hijri calendar. The Hijri calendar is a lunar-based calendar. So the months start with the sighting of the moon, right? So the sighting of the moon basically is going to determine the start of Ramadan. Now, of course, some of us, because of variations in moon sightings and our locations in the world, not all Muslims begin or end Ramadan at the same time, right? Ramadan can be 29 or 30 days, depending on new moon sightings. Now, some Muslims, of course, um, go with local sightings to start Ramadan, and some go with sightings abroad. And they're both correct in the Islamic tradition. It's just, some have one preference over the other. And then the month of Ramadan is actually believed to be the month where the Holy Quran, or our holy book, was first revealed to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him. And within this month of Ramadan, you have um, Muslims who abstain from food and drink and sexual activity from dawn to dusk each day for between 29 and 30 days. So let's talk a little bit about who is exempt. So there are millions of Muslims that fast every year. The following are conditions in which, of course, the fast is not required. So if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, traveling, illness, okay, especially chronic illness, old age, young age before you reach puberty, and then menstruation, these are conditions for which the fast is not required. Now, depending on the condition, you may be required to make up missed fasting days in case of traveling, or you'll give in charity in case of long-term illnesses that prevent fasting, okay, in lieu of making up those days. So you can feed those who are in need, you can sponsor iftars. There are a lot of different ways that you can actually take part in that. So when it comes to exemptions, another thing to consider is looking at meeting with your physician, specifically if you have chronic diseases and you want to discuss specific medication dosings and timings and things like that if you want to fast, especially where you have conditions of diabetes or hypertension. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about getting ready for Ramadan. So when we talk about getting ready for Ramadan, we're talking about preparing for Ramadan physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, right? We're looking at balancing our Ramadan and our academics, especially, of course, in a university setting. If you work every day in a work setting, you want to look at specific things when it comes to getting ready for Ramadan, right? You want to look at your schedule. You want to look at your class timings. Are classes virtual, right? Are your classes early in the morning or in the evening, right? Are activities within those classes scheduled to change, right? Does Ramadan fall around finals time, right? And what does that look like as far as study schedules, right? Meal planning, how are you going to plan your meals, right? So on a university campus, do you stay on campus, or do you stay with family near campus? Okay. How are you going to plan your meals? What type of meals will you eat, right? How soon will you do shopping? Will you shop for a week at a time? Okay. And then, of course, do you have dates? So traditionally, of course, we break fast with dates and water. So if you don't have dates, you can either order those locally or online. Okay, so some of these things are what we're thinking about as we plan. In time of COVID, of course, the emotional and social support is still very important, even though we socially distance. We want to make sure that we're engaged with our local community and friends and family. Will you eat at home, right? Will you eat with family and friends? Are you guys having MSA activities? Will you have, iftars on Zoom? I know last year here in Atlanta, we had the Ramadan recipe party, which was really cool. It was virtual, it was on Facebook, it was a group where we could come together. They did a lot of lives, we shared recipes. It was a great space where Muslims, new Muslims could come. We had a lot of sisters who had just became Muslim or were maybe the only Muslim in their family. And it was just a great space to share those recipes and fellowship. Okay. If you guys are doing MSA events in person, looking at what that looks like in the construct of COVID time. Okay. Social distancing measures, foods that'll be served, safety measures. And then if you're doing MSA options on Zoom, just looking at really planning that and what that looks like for your specific MSA. Seeking out support is important. And a Ramadan buddy, right? Having a Ramadan buddy. So last Ramadan was really cool because we had the opportunity. We had a calling list, and then we had a Ramadan buddy system where we would call each other and wake each other up for suhoor, right? And then a couple times a week, 3 times a week, we would, kind of get together and do iftar on Zoom. We would schedule it. So it was really kind of nice to have that. Even though we weren't meeting, in person, we still had the engagement and had the opportunity to fellowship. If you are, of course, in Ramadan, we want to participate in worship and increase our worship. So you want to ask yourself, if I'm getting ready for Ramadan, what does that look like as far as Quranic reading? All right. If I read every day, is that going to continue? Am I going to read more? Am I going to incorporate different types of worship, and what that looks like for you and your schedule? Okay. Do you have, a circle of people that you can get together and maybe read, from the Quran? Okay. In the month of Ramadan, we try to strive and do at least one section or juz of the Quran. So what does that look like for you? Online programmings, looking at engagement. I know the Yaqeen Institute, Celebrate Mercy, a lot of the other organizations, they do offer online programming. Your local mosque may also offer online programming. So just looking at, again, what does that look like to you? Are you planning to participate in that? Usually following iftar every night, many Muslims go to the mosque for the evening prayer. You do Maghrib, you do Isha, and then you also do a special prayer known as Taraweeh, right? So last Ramadan here in Atlanta and across the nation, many people did not do like a congregational prayer at the mosque, right? Some people offered online programming, some people just prayed at home, and that was it. This year, I have heard in our region that some will be offering those prayers, but they'll be staggered. They'll be at different times, and it would be limited to a certain number of masjid goers or participants. Of course, looking at COVID-19, a lot of the way we observe Ramadan has changed. There are no community meals necessarily at the mosque. We're eating at home, and then prayers are also at home. So it really just depends on what's going on in your region, and who is coordinating those efforts. All right. So getting the most out of Ramadan. Will your schedule change? Looking at nutrition, looking at physical activity considerations, right? Fasting during the month of Ramadan, of course, is the fourth pillar of the religion of Islam, and it's highly valued as an act of worship. So we want to look at what type of tips and strategies do we have to support those who are fasting, right? So of course, we emphasize consuming suhoor and iftar meals. Of course, we know in the tradition of our beloved Prophet Muhammad SAW, there are barakat or blessings in consuming your suhoor meal before you start your fast, as well as your iftar meals, and looking at promoting, satiety, of course, but emphasizing adequate hydration, high water content foods, and of course, limiting excessive amounts of, sodium intake and processed foods. As we go on, I'm actually going to show you guys a couple of examples of what suhoor might look like, what iftar might look like, and of course, you can adjust accordingly, and we'll provide a few additional resources for you guys to use. Highlighting nutrient-dense foods, really specifically looking at, hey, this is a great opportunity to really, if I'm not really a veggie eater or I don't get as much in, let's look and see how can I incorporate more vegetables? How can I look at incorporating, heart healthy fats, whole grains, proteins, not just in suhoor, but also iftar. And then also looking at how can I increase my hydration or better optimize my hydration. All right. Oftentimes in Ramadan, what I find with some of my clients is the constipation issue, right? So we're not eating or drinking at regular times. We eat in the morning and in the evening. And then we may not drink enough, right? We may not hydrate enough or get enough fiber or physical activity. So then, of course, constipation could result. So we want to look at ways to increase our fiber intake, water intake, and physical activity. If you are physically active, how does that change, or what does that look like for you in Ramadan, right? So I like to run. In Ramadan, I don't run as much, right? So I might do maybe a couple times a week, I might maybe walk, okay, 3 miles in the morning, or closer to the time where it's, we're going to break fast, because then right after my activity, I can hydrate and replenish, right? You want to look at, ways to add your physical activity, whether it's walking, yoga, prayer does count. core and physical activity. And then of course we have our athletes who, they're athletes through Ramadan. Okay. But you want to look at specifically what does that look like for you, because it's going to look different for everyone. Okay. And then of course, if you're managing chronic conditions, that is going to be on an individual basis. And I really encourage you to reach out to your physician if you haven't already, and have a discussion around that. Okay. All right, so this is our sample sahur, and your sahur might be a little different, right? We have vegans, we have vegetarians, we have pescatarians. Some people eat meat, some people don't, right? The idea is that you're looking at nutrient-dense meals that are gonna not only help promote satiety, but we're also gonna get our fiber, our water, our fruits, and our vegetables. This is one example, okay? And it basically kind of looks at, hey, I'm going to get my whole grains in. I'm going to get my fruits in. Okay. I'm going to get my lean protein in and my water. Right. So, one thing we want to think about is if you are not a morning person, you might want to consider that Ramadan buddy. Okay. That can help you out and really look at why do we get up and understanding the wisdom behind sahur. Right. Because the worst thing, right, is to wake up and have 5 minutes to try and eat sahur, right? And then you get maybe a date and some water in, right? When we can plan a little better, then our sahur can be a little better. Okay, so the idea is that we hydrate and we try to incorporate our nutrient dense options packed with protein and fiber to help you stay fuller, and fast a little better. So yeah, and this far as sample iftar, and iftar, there are two things, right? So you have iftar, which is the breaking of the fast, and then you actually have dinner. That's kind of the meal after you pray Maghrib, right? It's a little larger meal, but it depends on the tradition. Okay. And it really just depends on what your household looks like. So traditionally we break fast. We might have water and dates. Some people have the soups, depending on what type of soup you want. And then you'll come back and you'll have your lean protein, some type of grain, vegetables, things like that. Right. Again, this is a sample iftar meal. Right. In addition to your iftar, if you're doing Tartawi and the extra prayers and things like that, you also may want to consider a smaller meal before bedtime, right? After Isha and Taraweeh, but it might be very simple, like salads, maybe a smoothie, nuts or seeds, maybe fruit. Okay, so just to give you an idea of what that would look like. Okay. All right. The Ramadan recap. Now, I spoke to Sienna about this. This is a video that's about 8 minutes long. And I actually have two videos. I wasn't really sure if it was if we could play them. So what I did was I created a link sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to send this out to Sienna, and then she can get it out to the people who actually registered for the webinar. Okay. But basically what it is it's a recap of what overall Ramadan is. Okay. And then this one is a challenge. This is called a challenge fasting for a day. Now, what we did as part of, actually, we did Islamic Awareness Week, and we also did it during Ramadan, but it was challenging our non-Muslim friends on campus to fast with us, right? So we had like this fastathon. You guys probably may have done it or heard of it, but you would basically sponsor a huge iftar. And again, this was, prior to COVID, where we could all gather together, but it was a fastathon. And it was like, okay, we'll have catered, we'll challenge, our friends to sign up and fast with us so they can get the experience of fasting. And then they can break fast with us and really discuss that experience. And it was really popular every year when we did it. But it was just an opportunity to really engage those who might not have otherwise fasted. So it was a great opportunity to do that. This link is also included in the link sheet that I will send to Sienna. Okay. Okay, so this is basically resources and readings, and it really just kind of goes over or highlights some of the resources that are available from the Islamic Food and Nutrition Council of America. And they have a ton of resources, halal recipes, they have a free magazine, the religion member interest group of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. That's where a lot of our Muslim dietitians kind of convene to share resources and things like that. Fasting during the month of Ramadan, there are a lot of, different resources that are available, podcasts, and others. Okay. And of course, your additional references. All right. So, are there any questions? Let's see in the
Yakutu, I'm
chat.
gonna go ahead and introduce our moderator who
Hey,
is gonna join us.
Assalamualaikum.
So Amna Ashraf is a senior studying public health in Spanish here at Tulane. She is originally from Kingston, New York. Shout out to New York. On campus, she serves as a service learning assistant, a Grieve Wave ambassador, and sat on numerous committees and is a member of the Muslim Student Association, affectionately referred to as MSA. So hello, Amna.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction, Sienna. Again, my name is Amna. And thank you so much for the presentation, YaQutullah. I learned so much. And we can start by looking at some of these questions. So the first question I see is, I was wondering if you have any tips for students who live on campus and are fasting.
Yes. So there are a lot of tips depending on specifically what you're looking for. So some students, they have like, what do you call it? Like an online campus meal plan where they can go and eat in the cafeteria, while some other students may live in like a dorm, okay, or may have their own separate living quarters where they have access to a kitchen. It really Oh, am I still sharing? Okay, sorry about that. It really just depends on what your setup is. So specifically, if you're looking at tips for students who live on campus, are you looking for like specific meal planning tips? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drop some of my links in the chat, and then that way you guys can see it. So yes, we have a sample. It's called Ramadan Reset. It's a sample iftar and suhoor plan, and we'll provide those specific links. And then we can kind of go from there. If you have any specific questions, we can actually go ahead and address those as well.
Awesome, thank you. So someone asked, can you go back a few slides to slides before the iftar sample meal?
Okay, let's see. Should I share again? Can I do that, Amna? Can I go ahead and do that?
I think so.
Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna put this in here and let me know if you guys can access these links, because you should be able to. Okay, so the sample, and I'll go back to the sample iftar. See if I can share again. I should be able to share that, right? Yeah, okay, good, I'm sharing. All right, so this one was the sample iftar. Can you see that?
Yep, we can see it.
So again, this is a sample, right? So some people might not like lentil soup, right? Pick your soup, pick the one you like. Some people may not eat meat, right? Specifically animal protein. So choose a plant-based alternative that you can incorporate, okay? Vegetables, pick and choose which ones you want, whether you steam them or saute them or bake them in the oven. And then you can include your choice of fruit with that. When you break fast, as you progress in fasting, I find myself more thirsty than hungry, right? As I get to the end of Ramadan. So I'm thinking about, oh my God, what can I drink? Can I do water? Can I do smoothies? Can I do popsicles? Can I do, what is it called? I like the nabis is good. It's like soaked dates, right? In water, right? So there are a lot of different options out there to stay hydrated. So it really just depends on what works for you, okay? And of course, keeping it simple is really important. Show the Sahur plan. Yep, definitely can. All right, so this is the Sahur plan, right? So the Sahur plan, and I dropped the Ramadan Reset link in there so you guys can kind of see what those options look like. It's a project that we worked on with Amna Fitness year before last, and then we relaunched it last year. but it's a great opportunity and resource to just look at it and say, what really am I going to be planning for Ramadan as far as my meals go? This sample suhoor plan just kind of looks at, hey, I can have oatmeal or any kind of, whole grain cereal. I can do my choice of fruits, my choice if you want to do nuts or seeds. I know there are a lot of nut butters. If you don't do nuts, you have a lot of different seeds that you can also incorporate, whether or not you drink milk or a non-dairy alternative option, yogurt. It really just is going to depend on, again, what you're able to tolerate as well, because I know some of us have food allergies and things like that. And then of course, making sure that you incorporate some type of, hydration, water, whatever it is. A lot of it is also making sure that you plan accordingly, right? So instead of saying, okay, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to shop for the entire month of Ramadan, right? Maybe do 1 week at a time to make it really simple on yourself. Okay. Look at your freezer, look at your fridge, see what you already have there, right? Do an inventory. And then plan accordingly. All right. Ask yourself kind of what what type of appliances am I going to be using? Do I have a toaster oven or a regular oven or Instapot or air fryer or crock pot, right? Realistically, given what I have available, what would my meals look like? There are a lot of resources out there for crock pot meals and, Instapot and toaster oven, things that you can, prepare ahead of time, and things that don't take a lot of time. You can do it in less than 30 minutes. Fruits and vegetables, your stir fries, whether you stir fried or roasted in the oven or put it in the toaster oven, you can make it really simple and it can still be delicious and nourishing. All right, let's see. Do you have any tips for, what is this? Tips for students on getting back on track after breaking fast. Okay, when you say getting back on track after breaking fast, what exactly do you mean by that? Will these slides be available after the meeting? Sienna, if you want, I can just send you the slide presentation, the slide deck, and then again, you can send those out as well.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, and then people who are trying to lose weight, how can someone do that in Ramadan safely? Also, when do you think is the best time to work out in Ramadan? So yeah, we talked a little bit about the workout in Ramadan. That depends on you. If you're a morning person and you can get up and work out before suhoor, great. If not, then you can do it after suhoor, okay, if you feel up to it, but it's going to depend on the type of exercise you do and the duration, right? Because after suhoor, you're hydrated, you're feeling great, right? But then you want to also consider, what am I doing for the rest of the day? You know what I mean? So you might keep it light. You might just walk a little bit after suhoor, or you might do your physical activity right before you break fast, before iftar, so that you can immediately hydrate and replenish at that time. All right, any other questions? What was everyone able to see the link that we put in the chat? There was a specific link that we put in the chat. It was the Ramadan reset.
Yeah, I shared it with everyone.
Okay. Okay, great, awesome. Let's see. So there is also a Ramadan reset guidebook that we did. And the Ramadan reset guidebook, it has like 30 days of smoothies, iftar meals, suhoor meals. There's a workout plan. And I think I'll add that also, ramadanreset.com. It's a great resource. It's 30 days, and you probably, it's a lot of information. You probably won't, use all 30 days of it. But the cool thing is that it's a resource that you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want, and it specifically goes into, what your meals would look like. So, it's another resources that you do have available. I think I shared that. I'm able to share with all panelists, but I think Sienna has to share with attendees. So the best soup for iftar, that's going to depend again on you. and what you have available. I love lentil because it's quick and easy. And after a long day of work, I can just, cook it really quick, or I can put it into a crock pot and it's already done when I get home. So again, you got to kind of look at it and say, hey, what works for me? Okay. If you do a lot of traditional meals, things like that, then you might look at, harira or other types of soups. But you want to ask yourself, is this soup going to help me with my hydration? Is it going to provide protein that I need? Does it include, heart healthy fats and things like that? And then you want to look at the amount that you're eating as well. Okay. In addition to soups for hydration, we also have water and other options that we can explore.
Awesome. I think someone who asked a question earlier just got back to us. They're asking, what they meant was to get back on track after not fully adhering to the fast for one day. So maybe taking a break.
Okay, so getting back on track after not adhering to the fast for one day. So does that mean they didn't fast for that day?
I think that's what they mean.
Okay. So inshallah, I would recommend that you make your intention to fast the next day. Because of course, if you didn't fast for that one day, then you want to look at options where you either, depending on the context, you either make that day up because you didn't fast, right? That's what I would look at, and then count that as one of your makeup days, but make your intention after Maghrib to fast the next day, and set your alarm so you can get up for suhoor. Alhamdulillah. I mean, Allah is most merciful, and of course, He judges us by our intentions. So I think it's important that we also keep that in mind. We make our intentions for Ramadan, and we make our intentions. You can do it every night after your prayer or your Maghrib, or for the entire month. But just renew your intentions, inshallah.
So another question we have is, how can non-fasting individuals support those who are fasting during Ramadan?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. Okay, so there is actually a term, and I had a presentation earlier on this. It's called fidya, right? And what it is especially in terms of, say, you're pregnant or breastfeeding, or you have chronic illnesses that prevent you from fasting, for the month of Ramadan. What you can do is you can actually give financial resources, right? And it basically says, hey, I'm not able to fast, but I can support those who are fasting, either to the needy, or you can sponsor, a meal. Okay, if you were going to eat a meal that day, then you sponsor a meal equal to that. You sponsor an iftar. Okay, there are a lot of opportunities to give. So I think it's important that we also look at that when we talk about fasting exemption specifically. And I'll actually add this. And this is the ayah from Quran that looks at fasting exemptions. And it basically kind of spells out what that looks like as far as what to do in cases where you can't fast. You can support others who fast, and inshallah also reap the blessings of that. All right.
Awesome. So I think you touched on this earlier, but what tips do you have for a first-year student away from home for the first time?
Oh, wow. Away from home for the first time. Wow. Fasting. Okay. You know what? What I would do is, depending on where you're away from home from, if you're studying abroad or you have family just in a different state, what I would try and do is, since we're virtual now, two things. I would try and connect with my family, especially like maybe suhoor, get on a Zoom with them or whatever. A lot of people are up praying during the night. You can get on Zoom with your family for suhoor or for iftar and keep that connection, or really reach out to your MSA and look at other students who may be experiencing the same thing as you, right? Sometimes you can say, oh man, oh wow, this is your first year too. Yeah, man, I'm doing it, Ramadan here for the first time, and hey, let's connect, right? And then maybe you guys can either connect, you know, in person or on Zoom if it's just a few of you guys and you can socially distance, or just do a Zoom and set it up where you guys can all get on and maybe have sahur together or talk about your experiences or share recipes and ideas. I think that sense of community is so important. When I was MSA president at Georgia State, it was like, man, we got to think about programming for our students. We got to think about who's going to sponsor iftars. We got to think about who's going to be doing the cooking. You guys can take turns and do, you know, dinner, okay? Or you can do maybe a potluck. Or do something on Zoom where you're sharing recipes and you guys are eating together. Your meals are simple, but you're still sharing that experience. So it really just depends on, you know, what your university is offering, and connecting with those students who are also Muslim and really create that opportunity for fellowship. Yeah, can somebody plug MSA? Having weekly iftars this year, inshallah. Yeah, man, MSA, y'all get on it, man. What are you guys doing? Have you guys planned anything? I mean, y'all got like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I believe we're having weekly iftars and Ramadan gift baskets. So that's very exciting.
Okay, good. So if you're that first year student looking for a little support, you know, might want to tap into that.
Yep, and they're going to be on Fridays.
On Fridays. Okay, mashallah. Good.
So I think another question we have is mentioning the health-related benefits of fasting.
Oh my God. There are so many health-related benefits of fasting. I'm not sure if you guys have ever read, there's so many, not just in like various hadiths, like Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, but also there's a book called Tib an-Nabi, or like the medicine of the Prophet. And it goes over a lot of the health benefits. You have a lot of recent research now. You have a lot of research coming out about the health benefits of fasting and being able to have that rest in your body, have the rest of your gut. Okay, so you're resting your gut, right? Cellular regeneration. Okay, helping, you know, manage your blood pressure and, you know, blood glucose levels. There are a lot of different health benefits of fasting, inshallah, when you do it right. Right. So, you know, really looking at how we're fasting, really looking at the preparation before a fasting, what we break our fast with. So it really just depends on, you know, what you're looking for. And it's a great opportunity to really kind of look into those resources that explore the various health benefits of fasting. It says, where can the information regarding the MSA iftars be found? Oh, there it is. All right, so Sienna posted a link for the Muslim Students Association events. Okay, cool. So you guys have like a website or calendar of all your events. That's pretty cool. All right. Any other questions? It is 8:15. There was a student that asked about physical activity in Ramadan. I worked with a Man of Fitness, and I do want to share this, but it's basically a free training, and it looks at free training while fasting, recommendations from the Ramadan Reset Program. Okay, and this is actually happening March 31st. I think it's at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard, so that might be 5 p.m. your time. But it's a great free training if you're interested in, you know, looking at what physical activity looks like in Ramadan. So that's another option for you guys to explore if you're interested. Yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions? Oh, so someone said we're 2 weeks out. What can we do to ease into the fast?
All right. So to ease into the fast, wow, what I would do is you know, today is Nafs Shaban, which is the half point of Shaban before we get into Ramadan. You might want to just look at doing a few fasts, right? We know the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad SAW is to fast on Mondays and Thursdays. So you might consider taking the option or the opportunity of fasting on a Monday and Thursday just to kind of get your body, you know, acclimated. And then really just kind of look at, easing into the fast, starting to consume foods that you would consume if you don't already in the month of Ramadan. So some people had questions about soups. Well, now would be a nice time to start incorporating those soups that you hope to incorporate during Ramadan, right? Establish that buddy system. Reach out to those who also plan to fast and connect with them and see what the game plan is. Really kind of look at what your worship schedule is going to look like. Are you guys going to be, doing prayers in your dorms, or are you guys going to tune in to Celebrate Mercy or Yaqeen Institute or any other resources? And just really looking at what you're going to do there. There's a lot of free resources and some paid resources that look at Ramadan planning journals, right? And getting a journal and just going through it and writing out what your plan is for Ramadan. Every day you can plan your suhoor, your iftar. You can plan what type of worship you're going to do, if you're going to read Quran, if you're going to connect, who are you going to connect with during Ramadan, and really just look at what your Ramadan plan looks like. And then really, connect with those who are also going to be fasting. Do you have tips for not falling asleep during Fajr Sujood? Fair Sujood? When is a good time to wake up? Okay, so you probably want to wake up. Okay, and this is again depending on waking up for suhoor. I'm thinking that's what it is. That's what he's trying to ask. Okay. I usually get up at least an hour early. That's just me. You might, if you're doing something like oatmeal and some dates and water or a smoothie, I mean, you can do half hour. That's fine. But again, that's going to depend on you. Some people take a little longer to wake up. So if you know that's the case, you want to plan accordingly and get that Ramadan buddy, right? Where you guys can call each other or set that alarm where you can get up and get your suhoor going. Okay. Who is this? Okay. Yeah. See? Exactly. So, I mean, you know kind of if you're a morning person or not. So, mashallah. Yep. And keep it simple, y'all. Really keep it simple. I mean, if y'all do boiled eggs and oatmeal and a smoothie and some dates or some fresh fruit, for suhoor, keep it simple. I mean, the simpler the better. All right. I will send these. I will send the PowerPoint presentation and also the resource links to Sienna and Amna, and they can send it out to the group of participants we had for tonight.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone who asked questions and had comments, and a lot of these questions were great, and there were some points that I was even thinking about. Sienna, do you have anything to share?
I wanted to thank both of you for joining us tonight and for moderating. I know we've had some technical difficulties, so it's good to get you on to be able to moderate our Q&A with YaQutullah. And hopefully y'all have a blessed month of Ramadan. We are getting very close, so if you have questions, feel free to reach out to either me or MSA or even YaQutullah on IG. Also, we do have a number of events that we're planning. We're also hoping to get to a place in the next couple of years where we are partnering with MSA and potentially other organizations on campus to host some major Eid-related events. So I am really excited about where we're headed in this next few years, and know that if you're not a person who's participating in the fast for Ramadan and you're not Muslim, it is helpful to really come out and get a better understanding of those events and of what Ramadan is, so that you're not having to be updated every year about what's going on. Just know that the dates are going to move about the calendar. It's going to be 11 days earlier each year. So you'll see Ramadan now in the spring. You'll see Ramadan in a couple of decades in the fall. So just know that that's happening, and definitely offer grace and definitely allyship if you can during the time that folks are participating in the fast, because it takes a lot of discipline when you're going through that for the first couple of times. And as somebody who was not always Muslim my whole life. I definitely struggled with that piece of it. As an adult, it's a lot easier, but as a young person, it can be a challenge, especially in the college environment. So, any support and any advocacy and any allyship that folks who are not practicing or folks who are even thinking about practicing can offer is always helpful. With that, thank you all for joining us tonight. We hope you have a great evening and enjoy your week.
Thank you all.